Hey, so this is another video showing you how to use Crocotile 3D. And in this video, I think I'm going to create an object such as like a chair or a table, maybe both. So the first thing I want to do is clear this tile set here. And I'll just resize it to 1 by 1. And then change it back to maybe 8 by 8. Probably doesn't need to be that big. Also, there's a keyboard layout here with some keys, and it'll show you what I'm pressing on my keyboard as I work. And I'll also be explaining stuff as I go. So we have the tile set over here and the 3D view over here, and there's also a painting tab that allows you to paint on the tiles and with tools, and there's a scene tab that lists objects that you've created, which are basically groups of tiles. But first I want to basically kind of draw part of the chair. I guess I'm going to create a chair. And being able to draw onto the tiles allows you to kind of plan how the texture or graphics is going to look. You may not need to like have it super refined at this point, but it just allows you to kind of sketch things in and give you something more visual to work with. And there are shortcut keys similar to Photoshop. Like at the moment I'm holding Alt to eyedrop the colors. So there's some useful shortcut keys. And also the included how-to information lists a lot of stuff as to how to do things with the program. So I may look at that from time to time if I forget how to do stuff, because it's been a while since I've used this program. So I'm just going to draw a general image or part of the chair. This will be like the back of the chair. And that'll allow me to kind of visualize it better and plan things out. Maybe this will be like the bottom of the chair, or the part that you sit on. And I rotate the camera, spacebar and left mouse, and based on the direction that the camera is facing, the tile will change the way it's facing. And you notice the white lines are the 3D crosshair, and I can move those with the WASD keys, and holding space while pressing W or S allows it to go forwards or backwards. So you have full range of movement as you reposition that. And where it's positioned is where your tile aligns itself. So if I push it down like that, the tile is aligned to the plane of the crosshair, whichever direction the camera is facing. So also Q and E will rotate the tile. So I believe that is the correct direction that I want it, because yeah, the way the pixels look. And over here I could zoom in better. Control plus or control minus, you could also click here and just select what you want. So that'll be like the seat area, seat cushion maybe, I don't know. And then it'll have legs. Also notice you can't see it from the other side because tiles only face one direction. Maybe I could use these tiles down here for the legs. So I'll just draw some basic legs here, just to help me visualize things and plan out the tile set or the texture, and also to see it in the 3D space. As you can see, it's orientated in a different way, so I could rotate it using Q and E, and I could also press F to flip it or R to mirror it. So there's that. And this is very just simple at the moment. We're going to make it more detailed and kind of shape it a little bit. But this will allow you to see one way of planning things out as you work. So you could also erase. The shortcut key E selects the eraser and B selects the pencil tool, or you could just click it and that'll allow you to erase stuff, and it'll become transparent. As you can see, the tile gets updated over here. You could use the bracket keys to resize the brush. Similar shortcut keys to Photoshop, basically. Oops. And there's also a Control Z and Control Y to undo and redo. So I could undo all that if I wanted, or redo it. So let's see, what's the next thing I should work on? We could have just the same use the same tile for the back legs, like that. And also we could use the same, well, I don't know. I was going to say we could use the same back of the chair on the back side, or the front side of the back of the chair. Also, one thing you can do is, I believe you could hold down Alt in the 3D view and applies the tile to other tiles, like that. Let's undo that. But there's also a way to select it, maybe right click, yeah, Alt and right click allows you to quickly select tiles from the 3D scene and then place them again, if that makes sense. So Alt left click applies the tile to other tiles that have already been placed, like the UV coordinate, the UV mapping. And Alt right click takes the UV mapping of the tile and applies it to the one that you're placing. Just a handy way to quickly select different tiles. And there's also an edit view, or edit mode. If you press tab, you could switch between drawing and edit mode, and you could see it change here. You could also click this button to change between them, and it allows you to start editing the objects or the tiles. And you also notice when the faces are selected, the UV mapping gets shown here with this pink magenta color. And you could also edit the UV mapping. Like for example, if we wanted to move this vertex, you just select the vertex, and then you could use the arrow keys to move the UV coordinate around, and you see it gets updated over here. You could also right click and move it and drag it. And what else? That gives you finer control to adjust how the texture is placed on your tiles. So I guess the next thing we can start doing is maybe start shaping this a little bit. I don't have any of this planned out, so I'm just kind of figuring stuff out as I go. That'll give you an idea as how to do the same thing. So let's start with probably the easiest part. It's probably this cushion chair thing. And let's, since we're in edit mode, let's give it some shape. If I middle click, the highlighted tiles become green, and it shows this yellow line, and that allows me to kind of cut the tile, kind of split it. So if I split it here, it would get split into two tiles, and this basically adds more triangulation to the tile. Well, it adds more tiles so that you can then move the vertices and shape it more. So let's try that. Let's try and cut it. Also, there's a splitting value here, and that's basically allows you to position the line more accurately or more finely. Like sending it to 1 would be pixel by pixel, and sending it to 4 would be like every 4 pixels. So let's split it. Let's see, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's try splitting it in there. So you right click where you have it positioned, you then right click and go to faces and then split, and that'll split it. You can see there's new vertices added here and there. And let's do it over here as well, this side. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. Kind of zoom in if you need to. Right click, faces, split. So now we have 3 tiles here. And then we can middle click to go get out of that mode, and you can see the tiles are selected, and you can unselect them by clicking on them. Or you could press Control D to deselect everything. If you press Control A, it selects all the faces. If you Control A again, it selects all the vertices of the selected faces. And Control D deselects. Okay, so now the reason I split it like that is because I wanted to shape it a bit. I'm also going to turn off these arrows because I don't really need them. And sometimes they get in the way, but you could use them if you like using the mouse. But I like using the keyboard since it's a bit quicker. Now you can use the WASD keys to move stuff that's selected. It kind of moves the same amount as the 3D crosshair moves. And you could hold shift and use the WASD keys to move the crosshair without moving the selection. And Q and E rotates it. And let's see, so I just want to move this tile, the vertices for this tile, but I clicked this vertice and the vertice of this other tile got selected, as you can see. So one way to get around that is to just kind of select the tile and move it away and then move it back like that. Click the tile over here and then just move it back and then deselect the tile, and that vertex is still selected. So it's a little technical, but you can quickly do that just to select a single tile. And then you could move it like that. I want to move it a little more finely, so I'm going to adjust this grid rounding value to 4, and then it'll move 4 pixels at a time. So I just want to kind of round out the corner a little bit like that. And you can also, if you select the face, you can see the UVs, and since that vertex is selected, I could go over here and press the arrow key up and it will adjust that coordinate for that vertex, that UV coordinate. So now you notice these pixels here. Before doing that, they're angled. These pixels right here are angled, these black pixels. So if I move this UV coordinate up, they become straight again, because now the UV mapping is more accurate to the 3D shape of the tile. So I could just deselect that, and maybe I could do it for the back one as well. So just select the vertex like that, and then move it back, and then go like that, and select that, and move the vertex over here with the arrow keys. Now we have the UV mapping pretty accurate. Okay, and we've added a little round corners to the tile on that side. And we could do the same thing for the other side. We could just move this over here, just kind of move that up and move that one down. And we could also adjust the UV coordinates while we do that. And then move it back like that. So that's simple. Notice the other one took longer because I was explaining stuff, but I just, with a few key presses, I rounded that side off. Now the next thing, okay, let's add some depth or some thickness to the seat. And to do that, I'm going to select these tiles over here and go to my painting tab, and this will basically be like the edge of the side of the chair. So I'll just do that like that, just to help me plan stuff. And then I will position the camera like this. I'm going to rotate it like that so that it aligns. Then I'm going to put it here like this. I'm going to draw it there. Then I'm going to go into edit mode, and I could rotate it into place. I could select this tile, for example, and then hit E, and it'll rotate it down like that. Okay, that's one way of positioning things. I could have just, instead of doing that, I could just go into draw mode. I could just rotate the camera like this after positioning the crosshair. So, you know, there's different ways of placing things that might have been easier to do. So now we have this edge here, and I could just go into edit mode and middle click and then position my splitting line right there and right click, split, and then middle click to get out of that, deselect the top portion, and then I could just hit delete to delete this selected tile. So now what I have left is basically the edge of the chair there, and we could select it again and split at the same point where this other vertex is, because we want to kind of shape it. Split it there and over here as well, and then get out there, and now we have 3 tiles, and we can move these over to the side and then select these vertices over here and these vertices over here, and then deselect the faces and then move the vertices like that. Then we could select the faces again and then push them back into place. So now it is like shaped. The edge of the chair is shaped like that. Now you might notice there's little pixels on the edge there showing because of the way that the tile is painted. So we could kind of just we could erase this part over here, or you could fill it in with black so that the black goes all the way to the edge. So I'm just going to deselect that. I could select it with using the magic wand, and let's see here, Control cuts it out, and then I could just hit delete and it'll delete that selection. So now if you notice the edge, it doesn't have those pixels showing. Okay, now another interesting thing we could do is we could select all these and we could copy them and place them on the other side of the chair. So let's do that. Let's hold Control C to copy it, and then Control paste. So now it's been pasted, and wait. Copy, paste. Yeah, copy, paste. Control C and Control V pasted it. So now we have one like this, and it'll paste it relative to where you copied it on the crosshair. So if I undo that, and if the crosshair is located right here, and I copy it, Control C. If I deselect that, if I move the crosshair around here and paste, it'll paste it relative to where I copied it on the crosshair, right? Okay. So let's move it over to the other side here. But notice the shape of it is in the wrong direction, right? We need to like flip it or reverse it. Okay. So to do that, we just hit R to reverse or F to flip. So let's try R. R will go flip it like that, and F flips it in the other way. So R is more the direction that we want. But notice how now the texture mapping is on the other side. The tiles are facing the other side. Okay, so to fix that, I think we press Shift and R, and now tiles are facing the other direction. Shift R reverses the way the tile faces, basically. So there you go. Now we have the other edge, like that. Okay, so the next thing we could work on is maybe the front of the chair and the back of the chair, the edge of it. And we could just maybe use this portion right here. Yeah, let's try that. And you go to painting mode and just kind of do the same thing as we did before. Switch to draw mode, and I'm going to select this vertice just to align the crosshair so that when we draw, it's on that same plane. And I'm going to notice how we're going to have to reposition the tile after placing it. So now I'm in edit mode, and I want to select that tile. So it's on top of this other tile at the moment. So we could just move that for now, move it behind it. And then we could reposition this. And maybe we want to just do that. It's kind of a simple way of doing it. And then we could either split it right here, or another way we can do it without splitting is just select these vertices here and then reposition them like that in the UVs using the arrow keys, and then we could just move them back up. So that's another way of adjusting that without splitting it. And then we could select these, cut it out, and then delete that portion. So now we could also copy this and paste it over here and then reverse it. So now we have the back side in place. And let's move this forward like that. So now you have some shape happening to the chair. Now some 3D modelers might look at this process and be like, oh, that's slow. I could just create that with like a box and extrude the edges and things like that. But they wouldn't be doing all the UV work at the same time, would they? So they'd have to do that later, and that process also takes a while. So with this, you actually see your graphic and texture as you're working, and you can plan things out and pixel stuff and add detail and kind of plan how your pixels on the object actually look with the 3D in 3D space and stuff like that. And when you become better at placing the tiles and shortcut keys and things like that, it's pretty simple, fast process, and the program is very minimalistic, so it's less confusing to work with for simple stuff like this. You don't get distracted by a bunch of GUI elements and text and information and features that you don't really need for simple things like this, right? And once you learn this, you could come back to it and easily just get right back into it without being confused by the whole layout of the program and stuff like that. You know, it's very simple. And it allows you to get results done quickly without relearning things or spending time figuring out what exactly you gotta traverse through, like menus and things like that. Anyways, so we have like the top portion of the seat. We could also like continue shaping it, like maybe we want the back side to be like tapered. We could do that. Like if we select this and hit Control A, it'll select all the vertices of that face, and then hit Control A again, and it selects all connected vertices, and then we can like move it inwards, and that like gives it like a tapered look like that. So we might do that later, but for now I'm just going to keep it square. It'll allow us to edit stuff more easily, but as we work we'll add more shape to everything. Now I think the next part is I'll work on the legs of the chair. I mean, you could just leave it like this with without any depth to it, like, because depending on what you're trying to create, maybe you don't need a lot of geometry or triangulation to everything. Maybe you just need a flat tile like that, you know? If you're not going to see it from the back side or the front side, like if these were reversed, you know, that might be all you need. You might not need to add other sides to the legs, or the pieces of the chair, the back of the chair, these vertical pieces. It may be fine with just a flat part, In fact, maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll leave this portion of the back of the chair just flat, one tile, and the top portion could have a little bit of geometry to it. So let's do that first. Guess I'll cut it there, or split it, and then I'll select this tile over here. And I guess I'll paint the edge. Oops. Edit modes. Click that to reposition the vertex or the crosshair, and then I'll go to draw mode, rotate it that way. And this will be kind of like the side of it. We also need one for the top. Maybe I'll use this other side here. These other tiles. Select both of those, cut it out like that, and then I could just, oops, undo. I drop that and then fill that in with the paint bucket, and then go over to the 3D scene, rotate it around so that it's that direction, and then I will just I guess it's easier just to split them. Split that one and then split that one. Get out of that mode, deselect those, hit delete to delete that, and there we have that portion. I'm also going to go over here and remove that. Okay, so now we have a bit more shape there. What I want to do is I could, since this is a bit longer than the other portion, I could just cut it here or split it, or I could just move up these pixels. If I move them up, the pixels will kind of get squished, but I'm not too concerned about that, so I'll just move them up. Oops, like that. So I'll have to change the rounding to be more precise, or yeah, I'll change the rounding to be more precise. So now I can move things pixel by pixel. So now the bottom is aligned with the back of the chair. I also want to round the chair a bit. So I will split it again. let's just split it again. Split there, and that's 4 pixels on this side, so I'll do 4 pixels on this other side as well. And if you wanted it to be more rounded, you could keep splitting it to give it more shape. I'll split there, and I'll split here. And I'll deselect that, and now I will select these vertices and move it down maybe about that much. I'm going to move that out of the way just for now. And select that one, and select these. Now you can notice the pixels are getting stretched. So we'll have to adjust the UV coordinates. I'm trying to think how I want to round this out, because I could make this more tapered. For example, I can move these in this direction. Yeah, let's do that. I'll just move that in like that. So that's about, was that 3 pixels? And move these in 3 pixels. 1, 2, 3. Notice how this other vertex didn't get selected. So I could just click this and drag it around, and then hold Shift, I believe. Shift will snap it to other vertices that you have it hovering over. So that's one way to align vertices, or to position vertices. You can just click and drag them, and then hold Shift to have it snap to whatever it's hovering over. That's an easy way to connect vertices together. See? Let's do that and snap it. Oops, I was holding caps lock. But I think that is, yeah, it's aligned. So now, I think I also want to actually, now that this is rounded, I'm going to select the bottom vertices here and then extend it down, back down, and then I'm going to split the tile. Like that. And then I'm going to select these. You can click and drag to select multiple vertices like that. and then I'm gonna push them over there, and then we'll also mirror this side to this other side eventually, but for now we'll just leave it like that. I'm going to click this and select all the vertices, including the one to the neighbor. I'm just going to give it a bit more shape. I'm going to push it like that. Maybe I can do the same with these. So that gives it a little bit more shape, as you can see. It's a little bit more interesting than just a square. But as you can see, the pixels are a bit messed up. So I could select all these, and then I could select this and then use the arrow keys to kind of position stuff. And I could change the UV precision to 1 and 1, and it'll allow me to move the UV coordinates pixel by pixel. So I'm gonna try to make this more square shaped. So already it's starting to look better. You can see the UV coordinates, UV mapping here kind of fits more of the shape. There's a little bit of stretching going on, but oops. You can flip the edge to kind of re-triangulate a single tile, like this line here. You could flip that back and forth by holding Shift and F. And that kind of changes the way that the UV mapping is stretched, because one triangle is larger than the other one. So that affects how the texture gets stretched over the tile. So maybe I like that a little bit better, like that. So that's kind of interesting. So, I'm going to refine the actual pixels so it looks a bit rough with just that black line, sketchy line drawn. That's just to help us visualize the object and figure out where everything is located on our tile sheet. It allows us to what's the word? kind of lay out the different pieces. Okay, so next thing that I want to do, oh, what happened here? I guess because we had those vertices selected, it also changed their UV coordinates. Okay, I guess we have to fix that. We just right click and drag things around. Looks about right, I think. There we go. Alrighty. So just quickly fix those UV coordinates. Wasn't too bad. If I was a bit more careful before, I could have prevented that. But as you can see, it's pretty simple to adjust the texture. Okay, so now what to do next? As you can see, we have this portion here, and I can basically select this part and then get the magic wand. I should be just able to select. Oh, hold on. Let's fill that in. Now I'll get the magic wand. Oops. Actually, to make this easier, I'll just do that, and then I'll just, no, I don't want to do that. I want to select this, and magic wand, hold shift and alt and click there. Huh, that didn't work. That's weird. In that case, I'll just do that. And then I'll remove this, select all those and remove that. So now, if we go over here, we have the we have it transparent now. I'll make the background a little lighter so you could see the black portions. For instance, you could have just this, you could have just a flat tile there, and it would look fine, except for the back. You have to have a back to it as well. But that by itself looks fine, right? And we could probably like trim this so that we don't have as many vertices overlapping. You just trim the edges. Get rid of those. Like that. So let's create a back to this chair. I could just copy this and then paste it and then flip it or reverse it and then move it into place like that. But you probably don't want the front to look to have the same texture as the back, so we could just move the texture somewhere else. Like this, just oh, we have to select all the vertices first. So we'll use the arrow keys to move it like this, and basically just have to find a better place to put it. So I guess that place is alright, right there. And we could just copy we could just go into painting mode and paint onto it. So now we have the back. And we could also copy this other side. Copy, paste, and then reposition it, flip it, and then, or mirror it, and then reverse the faces. Adjust the grid rounding so that we can position it more precisely. And now we have the other side, the other edge to it. You could also press C to set center to the selection. So if you click and select something, you can press C and it'll center the camera. So if you're having trouble positioning the camera, you could click whatever it is you're selecting or want to focus on, and then hit C, and it'll center the camera. You can like give more shape to stuff as well. Like it doesn't have to be so square. You can like move it and give it more of a curve. Let me undo that. Select, make sure all the vertices are selected that you want to move. And this is because I have the front selecting mode on. If I have it in this other mode, it selects everything that's behind stuff as well. And this helps you, it helps prevent you from selecting things that you don't want to select. So as you can see, just by doing that, I could give more shape to things. So now the back of the chair has a bit of curve to it. And maybe I could move this back forward a bit. So now it's like kind of slanted back. I think I like that. So now it has a little bit of shape to it. You can also make this thinner if you want. It doesn't have to be so thick. Move that 1 pixel just to make it a little bit more straight. I think I like it like that. Okay, so I guess the next thing to do would be to make these legs a bit more solid. So I guess I'll use these tiles over here, and I will just quickly sketch that like that. And I don't know which direction this is facing. So I'll just do that so that I know which one, which is down. So it's like that. So I could also reverse it. So I'll do that. And then I'll position it. Might as well move it down like that, just while I work on it. I could add another side. Just to show you how to save space in your texture map. Like so, and then just split it. Maybe even add more to the inside legs. Split it again. And yeah. I mean, you could just use the same texture, same UV map for all sides of the leg if you don't want to be so detailed or whatever, but I guess I'll show you this way as well. So let's see, I could move this like so and position that, and then rotate it. Which way? That way. And I can do the same for this one. So now also copy and paste this one, reverse it, move it over to the side. And for this, I will copy paste it, reverse it, move it over here. So now we have all the directions. I guess I could split this. Just notice something though. Let's split it first. Split there and split there. And then I'll get rid of this middle portion. And might as well I'll just remove that for now. These vertices here aren't on top of the other ones, so I'll just, even though they'll stretch the UV map, I think it's all right. We're going to shape it a bit more as well. So now oh, there's already a back to it. I'll just delete that for now. And then I will position this further back. And I also want to add a bit of shape to the legs. So I'll select those and then go into the splitting mode. I'm going to, I guess, split it right here. Split. Just go around the leg, splitting it. And then I'll do the same on this other leg. I believe that's about the same spot. Now, you know, it could have been easier just using the same leg, but I'm doing like UVs for like all sides, so it's a little bit more complicated than it needs to be, but it'll show you how to deal with more complexities if you need to. So I believe they're all split on that side. Might as well just split this side as well. I believe that's aligned. Okay, so now get out of that mode, and we can kind of shape these more. I'm going to change the select mode to select everything basically. Make sure I'm not selecting anything behind that I don't need to select, and then I can just reposition it like that, and maybe do that. And then maybe move these forward to, and maybe these forward one. now we have a bit of a tapered look to the legs. You can adjust it however you like it. And let's also copy it over to the other side as well. We don't need to copy this face or this face. So let's copy it, paste, then move it over, reverse it, flip, or reverse, mirror it, and then reverse the faces. And now we have the other side of the legs. And we also need a back to it. And just to make it simple, I will copy the front and paste it. Now move it, mirror it, reverse the faces, and now we have all the sides to all the legs. Alright, and then we could also copy this, paste it, and then reverse it. Now we have the back of the chair. So now it looks more like a complete chair. We could probably position all of these up so that they don't look disconnected. And that's looking pretty good. We could adjust things further. Like maybe we could taper the legs to be thinner at the bottom or thinner at the top. You could select all of these, all the vertices. We could click this, selects the face of the tile, then Control A selects all the vertices. But if we want to select the vertices that they're touching, hit Control A again. So now we can move this and kind of taper the back a bit if we wanted. If we wanted it to look less square. So we could do the same for this other side. Control A again, and then move it in. So now the chair is kind of like a tapered look to it. But if we do that, we could also, you notice how the pixels get squished a little bit. So we could kind of realign the UV like we did before, so that it's more tapered at the top. So for example, I mean, I could just click and drag them. Oops, maybe not. Oh no! Undo. I'll just... Oh yeah, one thing. Sometimes you select stuff in front that doesn't need to be selected. So that can be a bit of a hassle. So I will select that vertice over there, make sure that's there, and then adjust. The UV precision was too high, that's why it was going all crazy. So now, see, I can position that a little bit more. So that's tapered. So 1, 2, and then I will deselect that, select that one over there, and then reposition that. So now that's a little bit better. I can position this one as well. 1, 2. I mean, you can move it however you want, but that seems to look okay to me. And now it's a little bit more more accurate, I guess. And you could also go back into the tile and start, you know, cleaning things up, drawing it more how you want it. Maybe I don't know, you can basically select everything now and just kind of go into the paint mode and start you know, painting the chair however way you want it. Oops. You could also add a bottom, like underneath the chair if you wanted. But in this case, probably just see most of the time just the top of it. So I'm not going to add a bottom. So yeah. You could also maybe round the top of this by adding more triangulation, more geometry, like splitting it this other way. Maybe I'll do that. I don't know, I think this is a good start, a good example as to what you can do. It'll help you get started. And of course now the fun part, or I guess that was all fun, but now you could kind of like focus on more artistic details, more expressive details that are kind of difficult. Like, I guess I'll show you how to do some pixel art now. This is like extra I don't know what you would call it. Oops, I'm pressing the wrong key. And as you draw on it, you could see it updated in the 3D view. Maybe it has some buttons, I don't know. You could start shading it. Just kind of roughing it in at the moment. You can clean stuff up later. See, as you can see, it's adding a lot of kind of artistic depth to things, making things a little bit more detailed with the texture. So you don't have to do all the detail with the 3D geometry. You could add detail through the pixel art. like add shading there, and it gives you the impression that there's space. You kind of just play with it a little bit and see what looks good. So maybe I'll draw that part, instead of this black outline. So as you can see, start making things look a bit more refined. Yeah. And then, oops. You can see that adds a bit more character, more information to the way that it looks. I could also go up here and add some, oops. And you could also undo and re-stuff that you've drawn. Put the shading underneath here. So it's looking pretty good, and I did that pretty quickly. There's for what you've done, you have an object, a 3D modeled object, and basically a whole texture mapping of that object that you've created while you created the object. So now you have it, you could refine it as much as you want, add detail, etc. I think it turned out pretty good for what it is. Just a simple example of a chair that you can make, and what it took a little over an hour. If I wasn't explaining stuff, probably would have been quicker, but it gives you a good idea as to what you can do, and also if you have a better idea in mind as to what you need to create, you probably have more decisive actions as you build it. I was just kind of experimenting and figuring things out as I go and how to explain it and that sort of stuff. But pretty simple, as you can see. And hopefully I can make some more videos showing different stuff that you could create and how to work with the program and that sort of thing. And then at this point, also, here's another thing you could do. Since we've created the object, we could select everything, make sure everything's selected, and then right click on it and go to faces and then create object, and that creates it as its own object. And then you go to scene tab. This is the object. We'll rename it as chair, and then if we click it, we could go into draw mode and start drawing a bunch of the chairs like that. And we could also rotate them different directions if we wanted, and reposition things. But notice also the origin point is off. That's because it creates the origin point where your crosshair was when you created the object. So to fix that, we can go into edit mode and select one of the objects, right click it, edit object. I think, hold on, let me check something. Yeah, another way to do it is just hit enter. You select and hit enter, and now you could edit the object. And then if you go down here in the scene tab to this menu and click origin, it'll show you where the origin point is. It's this triangular point over here. And if we reposition the crosshair, say to somewhere at the bottom in the center of it, maybe you want the origin point right there. You go over here and select the origin point and then click this button and it'll move it to the crosshair. So now that triangle point is located right there. And then you can get out of the edit mode, and then when you place the object, it's positioned more around your cursor where you want it to go. Okay. Now to continue drawing with tiles, you just select a tile and you could draw with tiles again. If you want to draw an object, you go to Scene tab, click the chair, and you can start drawing it. Now another thing that's useful for objects, or why you would want to group the tiles together, is it kind of puts them in their own box so that they don't get edited accidentally. And then when you edit it, if you edit one, the changes are applied to all the objects. For example, let me change that grid rounding. If I move those vertices up, they get moved on all the objects. So now if you want to draw more, they're all edited. And I could also undo that. You could also duplicate the instance, I think. Anyways, that's just something extra that I wanted to show you. And I think that covers everything for this video.